Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of Super Sunday here on Apex Racing TV. We had the Formula 4s earlier on from Spa. And what a race that was. And thanks to the beauty of sim racing, we could travel to the opposite side of the world to Oran Park Raceway here for the season finale of the SRF presented by Race Voice. I'm Tim Cox, got Lewis Wright in the virtual production trailer. Tom Dillon, you will hear from shortly. I'm desperate to get his insight on this one. But coming to this final round, let's have a quick look at the championship standings. And across the Spec 1, while Marco Pinero leads the way there. And he's just been unbreakable this season. Another dominant display from him. Jason Green lines in second and, well, looking comfortable for that. But Kane Lasky and Evandro Dantas, 1 point separates them coming into the final round. Overstreet wraps up the championship in Spec 1 in the Formula Fords, but can't make it here in the S1s or even into the top 3. She lies 5th, then it's Gardini, Gould, Lavini, Andalo, and Wood to round out your top 10. Across in Spec 2 now. Well, this has been tight all season long. Alan McCain leading the way there for Team Bushring on 591, 60 points ahead nearly. Philip Berry, Ken Batley is third. But only by 3 points. It's that third place, yes, again, that's close, ahead of Josh Justice. Gibson is 5th, then it's Woodcock, Jackson, Vaglini, Montgomery, and Vogler to round out your top 10. Across into Masters. Now, this season, this has been so topsy-turvy. Arguably, pound for pound, the best of the 3 championships in terms of competitiveness. As Yogmani, who leads the way, but only just. No dominant display in Masters. He's only 4 points ahead of Tom Gradwell, who in turn is only 15 points ahead of Jim Brewster, who's looking to make it to top 3 finishes in the championship in Masters between the Formula Fords and the SRFs. He's doing points. So he's only not a bit of a decent margin ahead of Brad Cathcart. I tell you, race 5th. Then it's Mitchell, Nunes, Longin, Bradshaw, and Borbots to round out your top 10. Now, Tom, thanks to the magic of sim racing, we can go racing this track even though it doesn't exist anymore and hasn't existed for 13 years now.
Well, I didn't know that, actually. I've raced here once in the MX-5s and iRacing and not really touched it since. But, yeah, well, it's fantastic. It's a lovely little circuit, isn't it? One of the most Australian circuits you'll visit. Very small, very, very interesting. But 2010, this place was... closed. I don't know whether it's been demolished or what it is up to now.
Yes, it's now a housing estate.
Oh, right, lovely. So
I can inform you.
Wonder if the road is still on the way, the layout is still the racetrack or whatever. But anyway, yes, that's it's a sad sight to see, but I'm quite fond of this place and it's a good place to finish our season off.
It certainly is indeed. I mean, like you're saying, yeah, quintessentially Australian. just missing a barbecue at the side of the track, really, isn't it? And, well, we've got qualifying well underway, as always. The usual 20-minute affair, 13 minutes complete of that. That's on. It's a bit tricky around this circuit, isn't it? It's tight, narrow, old school national circuit, but also there's not a lot of places you can overtake around here either.
No, absolutely not. I mean, turn 1 is a good bet around here. You have to get the run out of that final corner. Obviously, these cars drive reasonably similar, or you have to race them reasonably similar to how you would race an MX-5, which means that, of course, you want to be getting that slipstream out of the final corner. You want to be getting the run out of the final corner, and you don't want to be doing what Phil Berry has just done, which is going around. It's the double apex left-hander. 13 minutes gone in the session, 6 to go once we tick over into the 15th minute of this qualifying. And right now, it's Dudu Castro who is on pole position. I think, given you know, the nature of this track, that pole position is going to be quite important. I really do want to see Dudu Castro get a victory here today, because he's been so close for the last couple of weeks, and you know, your heart just goes out to him.
He has been, hasn't he? You know, of course, I think back to Interlagos for me, where it was so unlucky, that netco contact with Marco Pinheiro, who, ironically, he was in the chat earlier on in the Formula Ford race, and he was saying to then that thinks he needs a beer before tonight's race, just to try to, you know, settle the nerves and, you know, focus the mind a little bit. I tell you, he's in the session, but he hasn't turned a lap yet in qualifying. I mean, he's got the championship wrapped up. That's the first challenge. We nearly had it earlier on, and the former Tim Hendrickson, who just came last to second, was what he managed at Spa. A scintillating performance. It was all down to fuel strat from the guy who's currently joining Castro on the front row at the moment, Jason Green. So, can he do it tonight? I mean, this is one tough track to try and attempt something like that. And there's so many blind corners and adverse camber corners. I don't know, it's a weird circuit, isn't it?
It is, and that final corner as well is especially tricky. Pit entry is something that the drivers are going to have to get used to today as well. That's a frustrating corner to try and get right. But actually the rest of it is a reasonably flowing racetrack that you can find yourself having a good amount of fun on. And particularly here as we go up into Sector 3, you'll see just how Ray Oliver is having to throw this car around. All of these flowing corners not making for great overtaking opportunities. Then here, not a lot of margin for error on that inside line. Have to run the car right out up to the outside line on exit of that final corner, turn 12 of this regular layout. Ray Oliver is going to stay in 5th position with just 4 minutes to go. But also, as we mentioned, a short track will mean that we actually get quite a lot of laps in today.
Yes, 1 minute and 11 seconds is all time. Well, 11.59 to be precise, which Castro has just set on his last tour. Well, that's flying tour. He's just currently on an out lap, starting his first flying lap after he's popped in new tyres, topped up the fuel tanks. And his fellow countryman Evandro Dantas just tucked up right behind him. Those two trying to work together. But I mean, you talk about that short nature, Tom. It's great because you get lots of laps in. But as usual, big grids here in Weekend Warriors. That doesn't help the situation, because no matter where you go, there's always traffic.
Always traffic, and especially as we get into the latter stages of this race, start to see traffic being a factor, especially if Dudu Castro is going to have a battle on. I think Jason Green, if it stays as it is, Dudu on a lap at the moment, as is Jason Green actually, but I think they will be wanting to fly away together here, and traffic could potentially make those later battles very interesting. Car off on driver's right. There was also a car off on driver's left for a moment there. We'll see if this lap is better for Dudu Castro. 1:11.5 is the time that he set as the benchmark for everyone currently. Looks tidy out of that final corner, right up to the wall on the right-hand side. And as he comes across the line, it may be an improvement. Crosses the line, though, and I don't think there has been an improvement.
No, there hasn't. And I think maybe trying to give Dantas a little bit of a tow around, as they seem to be very synchronised, in which where they both pulled over and then just, you know, heading straight back to the pits to go again. I think a little bit of working together there. I'd like to see it from the fellow countrymen. Currently first and fourth, respectively, for those two. Two Americans sandwiched in between them in the form of Green and Overstreet. Interesting to see how Ray Oliver goes on. Narrowly missed out on the podium earlier on in the Formula Fords at Spa. John Tussing, another new name to the league. And, well, currently in 31st. That's nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever. Pretty much similar pace to the rest of the midfield. I mean, I'm just looking down the timing sheets. 2 temps gets you from 5th place Ray Oliver to Simon Mayer in 12th. And then 1 temp further beyond that takes you all the way down to 16th. Another 10th on top of that, and you're down to 20th. So 4 temps covering 15 places or more.
Yeah, it's always very close here in the SRF Weekend Warriors, and today absolutely no different. Interestingly here, Dudu Castro is going to get another lap in. We've got a minute to go in this session. He's just come out of the pits, as has Jason Green. Megan Overstreet, perhaps a tip for pole position down in third. She is on a lap at the moment. May get one more in after this current lap as well. Dudu Castro's just started his. 3 temps, 4 temps of an improvement required for Megan Overstreet. I mean, it's a tall order. Dudu Castro in traffic though, so I don't think this is going to be particularly a fast lap for him. Though, is that Dantas behind him again? Are they orchestrating something here?
Your eyes are not deceiving you, Tom Dillon. I'm certain there's a little bit of tomfoolery going on here, a little bit of helping out one another. So they cross the bridge. Of course, figure of 8 layout like Suzuka. Heading down, and this part where it gets really, really tricky for me, Tom, because this next corner here, it tightens up on exit, and then you've got this chicane where you just have to kind of point the car in and launch it across the curves. You can't see where you're going, and just you have to have most confidence with the car, your own ability, and know what the track is doing, and around you go.
That's such a bizarre spin for Evandro Dantas. It felt like he was losing the car all the way through that corner, and then it was only at the exit of the corner they actually lost it.
I like the way you say that was bizarre, because due to my low ability, that's quite often what I do in that corner with these cars. I've tried it before, Tom, so thank you for that. It is bizarre. It's nothing to do with my shoddy ability. Evandro Dantas, yes, that will definitely be something bizarre, because he's definitely a lot faster. Has a lot more ability than myself. But this checker flag is out. It's been out for 54 seconds. We've been chatting away. Didn't even spot that one. Drivers coming across the line with their final times. Usual story. No, mate. I don't know about you, Tom. I can't really see any improvements going on out there. It's just the norm it tends to be. Everyone tends to peak quite early.
Yeah, I think it's simply a case of, we've got 31 drivers who have set our lap time in this session. So, with a vast majority of them out on the circuit on that final lap, there's so many people in traffic that actually finding an improvement is quite tricky. And if you're running for many laps in a session, the chances of your final lap being the one that is the fastest isn't particularly high. I also find that perhaps the track evolution in iRacing isn't maybe as emphasized as in other sims.
I hear another R factor's better than iRacing vibe coming in there, Tom. I know that's your sim.
R Factor 2's track evolution is also not as pronounced as the sims. I was just, it's just a passing comment, Tim.
Lovely deflection there, my friend. Lovely deflection. Let's take you through the grid for the final time this season. Dudu Castro on pole with Jason Green. There's another All-American and Brazilian second row behind the front row in the form of Overstreet and Dantas. Then we've got Ray Oliver and Fabio Scali. A good qualifying for the Italian there, up in 6th, third row of the grid. Claudio Gardini, the Swiss driver, he's had a strong qualifying to come 7th, alongside the Mexican Dan Wood. Flavian Darlo and Simon Mayer going to round out your top 10, and row 5 for the grid, Tom.
Oh, row 6 is all Masters. It's actually the first of the Masters, Kurt Nunez and Chris Murakami. And Tom Gredwell and Andrea Favini make up row 7 with Luca Leone and Kenneth Bately behind them. Philip Berry and Brad Cathcart 17th and 18th. Adam Bradshaw and Trenton Kramer, your top 20.
We've got Stephen Mitchell and Ian Gibson making up row 11. Row 12, Charlie Vaccaro and Jim Brewster, the All-American Masters row. There's Paul Jackson next to Gary Warbolt. Row 14 is your leader in the Spec 2 Championship, Alan McCain. He's well down by his own standards in 27th. 1.5 seconds off the pace, but he's lining up next to Jeff Wibker. With Jeff Fritcher and Charlie Spink rounding out your top 30.
And the rest of the grid is John Tusting, Marco Panero, Gianni Longini and Michael Viglini. Now it's interesting to see our champion there in 32nd. That's interesting to see his progress throughout the field. I wonder if anything happened in that session or if Marco Panero just fancies a challenge during this last race of the season.
Well, we talked about that Brazilian dynamic at the front of the grid between Castro and Dantas. There's 3 Italians at the back. I mean, maybe I'm just reading too much into this, Tom. Maybe I am. I'm talking to Marco Panero in the chat. However, he's not taken to the track, so I'm not sure whether he's going to... Maybe just not feeling it. And maybe not joining us. That'd be a bit of a shame. We'd love to see Marco Panero last the first challenge. If you're still with us, Marco, I've just seen him in the chat saying he's not racing.
Well, interestingly, we've only got 19 cars on track from what I can see, Tim.
No, we're okay. I think that's just a camera angle you've seen there, mate. I think, Dantas pulling out wide to make this 3 wide. The run to the line as we are green. We're racing for the final time this season. There you go. We talked about the coordination between himself and Castro, and I think that's what we've just witnessed there. But Dantas stuck on the outside. Overstreet covered it up. Green's going to have to slide behind, or is he? It's still too wide through turn 1 proper. The mind games and the tactics from Dantas just didn't quite work on the run down to turn 1. There might have been a bit of an incident further back between Fritcher and Jackson, but everyone just making their way through right now. Mayer, he's on to a good start up a couple of places. Dan Woods dropped 2 from 8th through to 10th. Trenton Kramer ran well early on. He's up 3 places already into 17th, your highest position gainer, as we come across the bridge for the first time this evening. Everyone playing it a little bit safe in this early stages. Everyone still in one line. There you go. One driver just heading through there. I think it was that Phil Berry with no bonnet.
It is. It's Phil Berry with out of bonnet in the 888s. And we have got 34 cars on the circuit. I can tell you that now. It looked like an error on my timing screen more than anything. 25 on the timing screen on the left-hand side of your picture. But Phil Berry definitely going to be having a difficult time. I heard a crunch of carbon fibre in my ears then. I don't know if that anything happened there further back, but we'll have to wait and see. Megan Overstreet, is she gunning for the lead as we go down into turn 1? She looks to the inside line. There's a big Constantina between our top 2, but in the end, Dudu Castro is the one who stays on top and stays in the lead of this race. I said it in the qualifying session. I'll say it again. I so want this man to win.
Wow, I think it's going to take a lot to move him from this top spot. We've seen so many battles between himself and Marco Panero all season long, Tom, haven't we? And with no Panero here today, who's just said in the chat that he doesn't like this track, so, you know, with the championship wrapped up, realistically, he didn't need to turn up today. And I think it's going to take a lot to shift Castro from that top spot here today. Just needs to play it safe, bring it home here, but he has some fierce competition behind him. Overstreet, Green, Dantas, they're no slouches either, are they? And to be fair, Tom, I'm looking down the timing sheet, and to get bigger than a second gap, you have to go all the way down. Well, actually, it's opened up a little bit now. It is 7th. It was originally 28th. As well, you can tell that this track is trough dependent on the start-finish straight, as everyone weaving and snaking down there, following one another. That's Overstreet. Oh, thought she'd lost it there, but that's Green through as they all drifted through, and there's been a contact. And who's that sneaking it through? Well, that's Ray Oliver. Says thank you very much. You leave a big gap there. I'm going to take the positions off all of you.
Through he goes into second. Oh, there's contact behind as well. And that is going to add a spanner into the works. Dantas is down the inside, holds on to that 3rd spot. Oliver still keeping an eye on this scrap to see what he can pick up out of it. But the biggest loser out of all of that, it has to be said, is Megan Overstreet, second all the way to 5th. Dudu Castro, 3.1 seconds. In the context of an SRF race, Tim, I don't think 3.1 seconds is a particularly surmountable margin.
No, we've seen it before, but we saw it earlier on the Formula Versus. There's Chris Murakami inventing a rallycross track here at Oran Park. Maybe trying to dig out some foundations for the housing estate that will be eventually built as we've headed back in time to be able to be on this track thanks to the sim. But just seeing Tusting there, trying to make his way past Charlie Spink, those two working from the back together up to places. But wow, have things calmed down? Do they ever really? Well, I think we've answered the main question there, really, haven't we? Oh, Dan Wood's dropping a few places. I think my spidey senses, Tom, are telling me that he has come off track somewhere. There he is in the 26 machine. So 28 even. It's his livery that just makes it look like a 6.
And he gets through as well into 22nd position. I understand how it can be difficult to read numbers sometimes off of cars, but he's under pressure still, braking a little bit earlier than Gary Volbolt behind. Not Gary Volbolt, sorry, the car in front of Gary Volbolt, in fact, of Vaccaro. Volbolt is now trying to make the most of this and make a move, but inside of this part of the track it's particularly difficult. He's got a fantastic run here, though, and will look to go down the inside line. Surely no, again, he's being smart. Volbolt had to catch a little bit of a slide there for a moment, so actually, in the end, he doesn't gain a great deal of time at all. And in fact, that car just looks very loose.
It does, doesn't it? For the cars that don't have a lot of horsepower, 106 by my recollection, it looks really fast and furious through that section, doesn't it? It looks far faster than it actually is. And I'm just showing that it's really not draft dependent, this track. The fact Phil Berry still has no bonnet and is still able to keep in the fight on the hunt with Gradwell in front of him, Favini not too far up the road too. It's really, really showcasing that just, wow, clearly that extra body panel was just slowing him down before. Lighten the car up, get rid of it, off he goes.
Yes, and we see Kenneth Bately in 14th spot at the moment. He's got a little bit of pressure behind him. That's from Kramer. Kramer looking for that 13th spot, and of course the Spec 2 victory. Bately holding on to it for the time being. Of course, he's got the
Gardini's off.
Ahead of him with all. Gardini goes off. That's correct. So we'll take a break from that Spec 2 battle, which actually might now start to be affected by Gardini.
Everyone breathe in and they make it through. I mean, that is a scary part of the circuit where you just we were talking about it before, and just enter in blind, don't you? And you have to have a lot of confidence in your own ability and track knowledge. Everyone makes it through. It all settles it down once more. Well, I tell you what, it is as tight as you like in this season finale, turning into a bit of a street fight here in Oran Park. Everyone's scrambling for positions. No massive amount of overtaking opportunities. There's 3 cars all involved in the background. It's Leone, Cathcart, and Walbolt potentially, Tom. This is another incident, just going to replay.
This is Luca Leone down the inside line. I'm not too sure what happened here. Is he going to get overtaken, or is he going to get, spun around? He spins someone around, actually. I didn't see who it was that he spun around. However, Leone ends up a benefactor of all of that, going off into the distance.
I think it might have been Brad Cathcart who he just spun there, Tom. Something's happened to Alan McCain. There's cars off left, right, and centre. I think it might be Charlie Vaccaro. Oh, that's a shame. Charlie was on an absolute cracker today, and something's happened to it. This is turning into an absolute war of attrition. I think maybe Castro might be the only driver with his car being completely and utterly straight. There's bent body panels left, right, and centre. This is what happened to our Spec 2 Championship leader. Well, I could see that gap disappearing. And it did in the blink of an eye. And I'm not too sure if that move was ever going to be on there.
And does that have an effect on whether he walks away champion today, Tim, is my question.
That's Ray Oliver. He was second. And he's now in 6th. He's clearly outbraked himself there. Oh. It's like they've all gone mad. It's like it's week 13.
Yes, well, is what happened to Ray Oliver. I'd say the replay not popping up on my screen
So
here.
that's
you'll
okay.
have to-
So that's right. He has outbraked himself. I managed to get it right. I mean, he had lost a couple of places already to Green and Dantas there before he arrived at that corner and did well to evade making contact with Overstreet. But, well, that's Oliver maybe out of the equation. On board with Kurt Nunes 10th. There's Favini in front of us with Mayer, then Andala, then Scarlett, and well, Oliver now ironically leading this train for the best of the rest of the peloton, if you like. But Castro, you know, you're willing him on, Tom. 3.5 seconds clear at the front of the field. Well, I thought we were going to have a big incident there. We weren't. We get away with it. Favini darting to the left there at the last moment like he was having a bit of an issue, but clearly not, just mind games, and we're all okay again.
Dan Wood has come into the pit lane, and that's going to be frustrating for him as John Tusting goes around and someone joins the accident as well. So, well, that's very interesting. I think it was Brad Cathcart joining the accident there, and it was at 9:05 car just getting it a little bit wrong. Paul Jackson's off of the track on the left-hand side. That was just a brief excursion for the Brits, and he's back going again, all okay. And I think he's lost out a spot to Spink in 25th. Castro then. So that battle, 33.7 second lead. Tim, I said that it was pretty insurmountable. And as I stand by that, the nature of these cars makes it very, very difficult to gain lap time on someone. Nevertheless, 3.7 seconds. That's going to be probably an easy victory as it stands for Dudu Castro. But there's plenty of happenings behind, such as this battle.
There is. Oh, I think there's been an incident ahead of us. We're about to crop off, and there's a lot of tyre smoke. I'm sure I've had the crunching of bodywork. Well, as we on board with Jim Brewster, we head through turn one proper. There's nothing there, so maybe there wasn't. We've got away with it. A bit of banging doors, maybe, or is it? We're gonna find out now. So Gradwell there in the 909 machine in his home race. Oh, he's touched the grass, and that's what the tyre smoke was from, and that's what the cloud was from, as he bottomed out the car on the curb.
That little aside is Zoran Park bringing back some unfavourable memories.
Yeah, it is. I'm not going to lie, Tom. It is. It's, yeah.
Only ever iRacing victory game here for me in MX5.
There you go. Someone's got to love it.
Yes, yeah, I'm quite fond of this track, as I said earlier. Quentin Kramer. Oh, it's going to go straight into the back of Mitchell. And, well, it's a very nice save. Glad he saved a little bit of his pride there. But unfortunately, he was straight into the back of Stephen Mitchell.
Wow. Weirdly, we're only just coming up to 12 minutes through this race. It feels like we've been going forever, but I mean, just to the amount of laps. I mean, 10 laps. We're only 4 laps deep in the in the Formula Fords earlier on at Spa. Of course, chalk and cheese in terms of track length. Oran Park is, well, just a meager 1.6 miles, 2.6 kilometers in this configuration. And ironically, it's not even the smallest one available to us. But just looking at Overstreet there, just hot on the heels of Dantas. Green has, well, he's really opened up a gap there, hasn't he? 2.7 seconds. In fact, maybe even growing more so. But aside that, Castro looking good for this and clear. But Green is the master on saving fuel and pit strategy. Looks like he's underfueled the car when he comes in, but actually it normally has its time to perfection. If you could do the same again, it saved him 3 seconds at Spa. If he does it in the SRFs here in Oran Park, Tom, then all of a sudden it's game on at the front between him and Castro.
Yeah, that's a point, and I think if anyone has got a chance of winning this race, it's probably these two, and of course Green up in second. However, I think they've got more of a chance of doing so in the pit stops rather than anywhere else. Trenton Kramer is in battles again. Mitchell stays ahead of him. Kramer's on the inside line trying to get ahead of Bradshaw, which he does. We're hoping this time by, of course, that his attack off Stephen Mitchell is executed a little bit more cleanly than in the previous couple of laps or so. Gibson just ahead of them is going to find himself under pressure as well. Let's run on board with Jeff Richard. He's got a good view of everything going on just ahead of him, the 901, with a little bit of a lock-up. That might allow Fritcher to get a run out of the final corner. Here he goes, out of turn 12, up into turn 1. Oh, dearie me, that's the pit exit entry for you. Here it's Oran Park. That's forced the 901 to get out the throttle a little bit. Will allow Jeff Fritcher to have a look down the inside line, but he wants the slipstream. He wants to be able to lift and coast a little bit into the corner, as we see Mitchell is making contact again with Kramer. So that's certainly interesting. Fritcher, though, not in a particular rush to make this move.
Interesting how Fritcher, like you say, just bump drafting. 2 words you don't tend to hear at Oran Park, but Jeff Fritcher giving Murakami there the hurry up and pushing along to ensure that they stay in the fight, with Kramer, Mitchell and Brewster just ahead of them. And right now, I can't work out who's the cork in the bottle. I mean, is it Brewster who leads this group, or is it actually everyone else just battling behind, and poor old Brewster up in front is just worried and half looking in his mirrors trying to work out what's going on behind him. Is he going to get dive bombed or have sort of make contact with him and he loses places that way? I'm really not too sure. Can't work it out. Kramer into the pits, I would say. Yes, he is. And so comes in Fritcher and Leone as well. Jeff Fritcher's up 10 places.
Very early pit stops, isn't it? All things considered.